Hey, sports fans, Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you for the first time in the playoffs this year. Why not after only one game we had and a little bit earlier than somewhat normal, at least the West Coast people. So we got Coach Nick here. I'm with you. We got Andrew Combo Salif with us as well. Combo, what's happening, my man?
All is well. How are you, Nick?
Oh, I'm good. You are coming in loud and clear. I'm going to turn that down just a little bit. Everything is good. Let's we'll do some little rounds in the comments here. Don't forget, if you want to get your question answered, the best way to do that would be to do a super chat on YouTube. It keeps the lights going, keeps our show going on. So thank you so much for that if you can do that. But let's do a little bit of some housekeeping here. Johnny is number one. He is number one. He was the first guy to comment. We got Ken. We got Dakarai. What's up? We got Tim, my man Tim out there, who thought the Hawks might pull this one out for a bit there in the fourth, but Celtics were too much. And let's see, Tech Hoops, Mike, Martin, Jose, what is going on? Friend of the breakdown. And it was sad. It's a little bit sad to see the Hawks, go away. I was enjoying what they were doing to the Celtics a little bit. Were you?
Yeah, I mean, I thought the effort was great, and it would have been fun to see a game 7, but it's just not going to happen. But I do think there's a bright future ahead for the Hawks. Some of their role players are coming into form. Hopefully that, I kind of like the trade DeJounte thing. I mean, I know it was a lot of your turn, my turn this year, but it looked better in the playoffs. And maybe with a full offseason, Quinn Snyder getting things together, maybe and making a couple moves around the edges, this team could do better next season. I think they can. I think the future is bright.
Yeah. I mean, remember, they had gotten to the conference finals with a similar team. And then they added DeJounte Murray. I'm still not quite sold. I think that there obviously is something there because it is nice to have Trey draw some attention, kick it out, and then have him be there on the outside to then create something as well, and then flip that vice versa. So I suppose, they could give it another run. On the margins, there might be some things they want to try and upgrade or fix. I'm not so sure. I mean, Okongwu, I think, is really terrific. I wonder if there's a way maybe he starts, maybe Capella comes off the bench. That might be interesting to me. And other than that, I mean, the thing that's interesting is that Trey Young, I'm in the middle of doing a video on Trey Young, and then all of a sudden last night's game happened, and I was trying to finish that game just before the game started. Couldn't get anything done. It's so hard, man. There's too much stuff to go over. But I had 2 videos coming up. So a Trey Young video. And by the way, the thing was I owe him an apology. It's sort of what the whole video is going to be because I roasted him, said, he's holding his team down. There's a ceiling. And you know what? That may or may not still be true. But they did unlock a few things after game 2 that held true again in game 6. So you'll see in the video tomorrow. But certainly targeting Horford in the pick and roll with Trey Young was something that the Celtics had no answer for.
Yeah, Okongwu, I like him, and I agree with you. I think he should start. He needs to work on the free throw shooting, though, man. Some of that killed him. I think the game could have been a little closer at the end if he could have made some of those free throws. But I guess
Okongwu ended up from the line 0 for 3. Yeah.
So that's something he can work on. But yeah, I mean, I like their players. Collins' shooting has been up and down all year. That's something they have to fix. They just need shooting around DeJounte and Trey. I mean, I think that's so important to keep the spacing alive.
Right. So Sadiq Bey would be one of those kind of guys who's got size and can shoot it. Bogdan is terrific as well. And he was really tough for a long time there. It's weird. I'm looking at the full game here because look at the box score. Bogdan only took 8 shots. Wow. He must have taken them all within this one very short time span because it felt like I saw 5 or 6 of them within 6 minutes in that second half. So that's interesting, and that actually goes down to sort of the guard work there because you got to be able to get more people involved. I don't know if I like this shot distribution here. I'm looking at it: 28 shots for Trey Young, and then 13 for DeJounte Murray, 17 for Hunter. And then other than that, no one else is anywhere near there. So it needs to be a little bit more balanced. I think it'll make them better. And then after all that, because Trey was on fire, he had 25 points in the first half, finished with 30.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they have to unlock Bogey. I don't think he's been the same player he was with the Kings, with the Hawks so far, especially this season. So maybe Quinn Snyder could do something with that. I think their shot profile and shot distribution has to change over the course of time. But, new coach, so we got to see what happens. I think, he came in the middle of the season, so it's hard to change things on the fly like that. I think we need to see them with a full off season.
Yeah, that's another great point. I think Quinn Snyder gave them something that they didn't have with Nate. And I'm anxious to see what he can do with the training camp and start figuring some things out. Because, it was almost like, the first two games, they just sort of weren't sure what they wanted to do. And that said, Trey also just wasn't himself. There was something off with him because they were kind of still they were still trying to attack Horford, for instance. And I saw enough of those. He just was missing stuff. He just got off and in his head. And then once he got level in game 3, it was like I almost couldn't believe they would play Horford at all in these games because it was like, the only thing keeping him anywhere near there is Trey Young going off. And the only reason why they are is because Horford cannot do anything against him on those drops. And by the way, Williams wasn't great either in them. So I guess that was probably the question. But I would have gone really small and really, try to switch everything and switch, do some interesting things defensively. So we're not seeing a lot of great stuff so far from the Celtics coaching and adjustments. And that'll be a very big concern going into the next round. But we have a couple of super chats. Let's get to some of those because we have best friend of the breakdown, Andrew Zhu. Thank you so much, Andrew. He's got a question and really, really generous super chat. I really appreciate it. Hunter needs to be featured on offense, might be their best player. Wow, that's interesting. I think I would have felt that way before the season started, but I'm not so sure. I mean, I guess he's better because
maybe he's saying the two-way player.
Yeah,
he's trying to say.
Yeah. Well, he's also focusing on the offensive part, which Hunter took a couple bad shots. They had him trying to inbound the ball at the end there. That was embarrassing. I get it. They're in a deep coffin corner. It's not easy to run a play out of that spot, but he missed, Collins comes open, I think, the first time they gave the ball to Hunter, and he just didn't give it to him. So that's another interesting thing that we've heard about locker room issues that maybe had seemed to straighten themselves out. John Collins, Trey Young, and it's a little bit old that maybe they're still around. Maybe they're not going to pass to people when they are open. I don't know. Can't have that if you want to have a successful team. So that's an interesting problem.
Yeah, I think Trey Young is their best basketball player, but I see what he's saying with Hunter because I do believe Hunter could complement Trey and DeJounte in a really great way if he could knock down the three. And obviously what Trey lacks defensively, you need guys like Hunter around.
That is true. And Trey was not good in that second half defensively. He was letting Marcus Smart cut behind him. It was compromising the entire defense for no reason. I kind of thought that there was a second there that perhaps Marcus Smart was going to do something really crazy and it was going to really hurt the Celtics. I thought for sure, but you know what? He finally hit that three. He cut and then kicked to the corner. I mean, he did very nicely. So I think we're finally seeing the evolution of Smart, of a guy who can handle that role and not well, I guess you know what, every round that goes farther, that pressure gets higher, and you got to be able to make good decisions consistently. So I'm anxious to see how Smart will react against Philly. But at any rate, yeah, that Trey Young needs to improve on that part. And then he can't have he just can't kind of have a funk where he was just sort of off. He was so hot, it looked like in that stretch there, like in the second quarter. And then it just kind of went away and he could not hit. He got a couple good looks. I think the real ending of the game ended up being the jump ball, and it got tipped to Trey Young wide open on that right wing, and he just couldn't hit that shot. That really seemed to be the one that was a backbreaker for him.
Yeah, I wanted to take it back to Game 5 for a second, and I think I actually sent you a text message about this, that people were complaining about Jaylen Brown's pickup point, but the Hawks were down 1, and Trey is dangerous when he turns the corner. I thought the pickup point wasn't that bad. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to foul. You don't want to get beat. So you got to kind of do it. But, like, do you want to turn him at once or something like that and just get a little bit closer? Like maybe. But, yeah, listen, he hit a dagger. It was a great shot. It's all about all you can do. Now, he got him back. He had one tonight that was a serious inch of DeJounte Murray's face. And then Tatum did one, too. So that was an interesting part of the game. It almost felt like we were seeing the future of basketball to some degree. It was not like an intense hatred and not a lot of back and forth feistiness, right? It was clean and it was ultimate skill back and forth. That's kind of fun. I wonder though, people probably do prefer a little bit of the chippiness. And when you get a little bit of nose to nose contact, like when you saw, I don't know what was going on between Portis and who was it last night? On the bench for the Heat, Haslam. Did you see that?
A little bit of it,
That,
yeah.
that was crazy. Oh, that was game 5 or game 6, whatever game that was. It was like, what is that about? Like,
Well,
Haskins not going to get on the court, and all of a sudden he's
well,
hitting him. So I think maybe people do like that. They gravitate toward that. And then as far as I don't know. Do you think that you like a cleaner game like that? That's just like guys go matching skill back and forth.
I tend to like that. I enjoy that. I know a lot of my friends who grew up in my era do not like that. But I will say, if you like the chippiness, you should tune into Knicks Heat, which is coming up very soon, and you'll see some chippiness. Like, I know it's 2023, but we might see some of the physicality that we saw back in the 90s, because both those teams are pretty physical. I mean, it's a Tibbs team, and then it's a Jimmy Butler-led team. So it's going to be a physical series, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and the Knicks held the Cavs under 100 points like for 4 of those games. That will never ever happen again, as far as I can tell. That was monumental, and I owe them a video. I'm sorry, people were asking in the comments. I went out of town. I missed a bunch of days just recently. I just got back yesterday, and I've been haven't really moved, but I'm still just spinning my wheels. So hopefully, I'm going to just churn out a whole bunch of content like every day for the next few weeks, or a week or two at least, and really catch up on some stuff. But I owe the Knicks a real video, because what they're doing on defense is terrific. And also with Jalen Brunson, again, he's the best post up player in the league. I think.
Yeah, and I love Miami, but I don't know if they have an answer for him.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess Jimmy might have to take him, but he's going to have to take, like, with Hero out and Vic out, he's going to have to take a lot of the role on the offensive side and to guard Brunson at the same time. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
I love it. I think he's up for it. Okay. Yeah. Best friend of the breakdown, Mike Quigley. We haven't seen him in a while, but we haven't really gone live after games for a while. So thank you so much. Great to see you. And really just generous super chats, always there for us. I really appreciate it, Mike. The only team in the playoffs that looked like it can be trusted not to self-destruct is Miami. Thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think they'll self-destruct, but they do need to continue to hit the three with players like Jimmy, and Kevin Love hit some huge shots. Caleb Martin, even Duncan Robinson, there were some flashes. So I think it's just more of a make or miss thing when it comes to them, because they did lose some of their offense. And I would say with Tyler out, obviously you lose some of the scoring punch, but I do feel like the defense was better and the decision was better overall. So sometimes when you lose a player, it changes the dynamic of the team.
Yeah. I mean, Hero could be up and down, and you take away a little bit of that and you get some more stability. But I mean, is this the part of the show where I get to light the Bucks up on fire?
Oh man, I mean,
because that's what I'm doing in the video. I'm actually using a good song. I'm using maybe I don't even know if people know this song, but I'm using what's the song I'm using? Oh my God,
I don't know, but I always see you putting Elmo on fire on Twitter.
Yeah, it's this song. Wait. Inbounding the ball. Here. Oh yeah, "Land of Confusion" by Phil Collins, because the Bucks were simply in this land and had no idea what they were supposed to do. They were completely let down by the coaching staff. Completely, they had no adjustment to their defense at all, and it was astounding that you could see that throughout the entire the entire series, and they could not do anything to stop Butler. It was crazy. And then the self-destruction down the stretch without the timeouts they didn't call. It just was not a smart team. I think it's time. They should just rip that team apart. And I was thinking, they won a title with this. And I'm trying to remember now, I guess it's a couple of years now. So, Giannis proved he could make pressure free throws. Not anymore, I guess. His free throw form is probably one of the ugliest in the league. It's always sort of been ugly, but it's gotten really bad now. And he doesn't want to have the ball because he's afraid of getting fouled.
Yeah. There was the whole after with the press conference, there was the whole, is this a failure this season, right? And Giannis's reaction went viral. But I would say for probably the Heat and the Knicks, no matter what happens moving forward, it feels like a success, right? Already, I know the Heat wouldn't look like the Heat wouldn't feel that in their eyes because they have a winning culture. But I just hope nobody forgets what Jimmy Butler did that series, because it's an all-timer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 6 times now. Number 8 has beaten number 1. It almost never happened since '84, the 16-team playoff format. So, and by the way, for a long time back in the day, it was best of 5. So it was really hard, I suppose. I think if you're an underdog, you probably need the extra games in theory. I don't know. Oh, no, we did have a one, and that was the Nuggets beating the Sonics. Or is it the other way around? Sonics being the Nuggets. No, it was
Wait, was it? No, it was the Kembe, right? The
yeah,
Kembe.
the Nuggets. Nuggets beat the Sonics. That
Yeah.
was a 5-game series. So it's a failure. I mean, there's nothing you can say that would prove otherwise. They're the number 1 seed. They lose in 5 games to the 8th seed. I mean, that's as bad as it could possibly be, short of a sweep. I mean, that it's terrible.
Organizationally, it's a failure, right? Because you put a lot of money into things, and when you put that kind of money into a team, you expect them to at least make it to the finals. But I do see Giannis's philosophy, like in the long run, this wasn't wasted effort, right? It's the journey, it's not the result. I get all that, but I mean, it's fair to it's definitely a huge disappointment for the organization as a whole.
Yeah, I mean that too. And now remember, Giannis missed 2 games. The irony is they won one of the games. The only one they won was without him, and the ball moved a lot more passing, a lot more movement, and they were able to unlock things that they can't. Now I get it. When you have a guy as dominant as Giannis, the ball doesn't need to move as much. He's going to do more stuff. So that was fine. And by the way, he had a lot of stretches where he did dominate in the series, even though he only played the 2.5 games.
Yeah. I mean, he did. How many did he drop this past game? It was a lot. I mean, he had a lot of points. Was it 40?
Yeah, I think he had 30-something, 38 maybe. Something. I have to check. And he shot well, and so, but there's an impact that he lacks, and it's rooted in the lack of sort of the skill. He continually drives into the lane and just smashes into people and gets called for offensive fouls. And then he'll turn the ball over as well when he gets in there. He doesn't seem to know how to navigate defense. It seems like he's a guy that trains without a defender all the time, and he intends to do those moves as if there is no defense, and he gets surprised when all of a sudden they're in his way and there's no sense of avoidance. It's really frustrating to watch at this point in his career as a guy who is a MVP candidate. You shouldn't have those deficits as an MVP candidate. I shouldn't keep seeing a guy just trucking into people all over the place. And by the way, that's one of the reasons why he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely struggles in the half court compared to some of his superstar and star counterparts, right? Like, he likes to do his work in transition. In the half court, he's not as good. And Jimmy Butler is great in that situation. And in this series, he's a 3-level scorer, and that was really the difference in it all.
Yeah. Now, maybe to put a button on Mike's question, since we owe him.
And thank you to Mike. We appreciate you, Mike.
Yeah, even more about that, about Miami. I'm looking at the bracket right now. So who else can we trust? I mean, New York, we don't know. This is a new setting for them, basically, to get the second round, and it was a great win, upset the Cavaliers. Philadelphia is kind of still a question mark. Boston is a little bit shaky now. I didn't feel that way probably after the game 2, but after what Trey did to them and they brought it to 6, it's a little interesting, and you still have a couple question marks. Denver, I really like. I think I might end up being behind them the most. A guy like team like Phoenix drives me nuts. When we were watching LA go on that big run to bring the game at the end and almost take it from them, like KD was nowhere to be found. He was a ghost for like 5 or 6 minutes while they were doing all that. And they're new. They don't have a lot of chemistry yet. So that could be I don't know if I trust them either to not self-destruct. And then you got, Lakers, have self-destructed and before, and we've seen that. So I don't know about that. And then Golden State, for sure can shoot themselves in the foot multiple times in the game. So maybe Miami has the most sound right now. But that said, I didn't even like the way they played and how they get in the play-in, but they might end up having the most sort of sound, less mistake-prone players.
Yeah, I mean, they have realistic belief in themselves. They definitely know that they're at a talent deficit compared to some of these other teams.
Yeah,
like especially with the 2 injuries. But they do also know that they have Jimmy Butler and they have the best coaching staff, in my opinion. Like, they're confident in those things that they could win any series, but they do know there's a lot of challenges when it comes to their roster at the same time.
For sure. So I'm anxious to see that. Again, this has been a really weird season, and I think we're going to continue to get really good playoffs. I think that so far they've been pretty good. In fact,
great.
I was out of town on the Monday, and for the 2 best games I've seen in a long time in the playoffs, and I couldn't get those videos done. But I got to see some of it, and it was a real treat. So we have another super chat from Andrew Zhu, and another one. Thank you so much, Andrew. Philly doesn't have wing defenders for Brown and Tatum. Okay, does Philly not have wing defenders?
I mean, does yeah,
it's Tobias.
I mean, Tobias. Who am I missing?
Well, there's Shake.
And, Shake is not he's. I mean, he can't physically keep up with those guys.
He's got energy and he's long. He's kind of long, isn't he? How tall is Shake Milton?
Like 6'3".
Is that it? I thought
I
he was a
think
little
so.
taller. He's 6'5". He's listed at 6'5" on B-Ball Ref.
Okay.
So, he could hang because, Jaylen Brown is 6'5". I don't think he's much more than that. But who else? Who else?
Jaylen Brown is like low key, like, I mean, he's like a top 5 NBA athlete.
Mm-hmm.
He's a ridiculous athlete.
He is.
Yeah.
So, that might be about it. And then Tobias will have his hands full. He'll have to be doing a lot of work on the defensive end. So I wouldn't, I would imagine that his offense could suffer a little bit. He's been doing nicely right now, recently, and having some moments where they're letting him go and be really aggressive, which is great to see.
PJ Tucker often overachieves on the defensive end, right?
I don't know. I'm down on PJ these days. I think he's kind of getting to the end of.
Yeah, and Al Horford's there too, so there's a trade-off at that point, right? I mean, they both have some old players on each team.
Yep, that's true. So it'll be weird, and I can't even figure out what the pace was going to be like. Probably slowish, I'd imagine. Although maybe the Celtics want to run and the Sixers want to slow it down. It'll be interesting to see that. That might be a good tug of war there. So that's a good point, though, at the very least, that Brown and Tatum should eat pretty nicely. I would imagine they're going to have games that are pretty big stats.
And Brown's going to, he's going to open things up in transition, as he always does. But it might be even worse for them than this Hawks team. Like, the Hawks have some athletes like Colin and Hunter. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like with Embiid and Harden, and as you said, PJ Tucker getting older, it's going to be tough for them to deal with Brown in transition.
What I'm not in love with, like what I'm watching from the Celtics offense right now, is we had that beautiful game of the drive, middles, kick, drive, skip, passes, and all that stuff. I don't see that as much anymore. It's a lot of Tatum going to work on his own, a lot of Brown going to work on his own, and then on the margins you'll get a little bit of action. I'm a little bit worried because as you get deeper in the playoffs, that's when that stuff doesn't work nearly as well. Those shots are really tough, so they're going to have to figure out get back to a little bit more of that movement. And trying to create easier shots if they're going to be on the road in a hostile environment. I don't know how they're going to make that work so easily. But, hey, that was what we got the glimpse of tonight, right? Like just back and forth, individual brilliance, shot-making, skill. And I suppose, again, that felt like the future of the game to me.
Yeah, DeJounte has some stuff in the mid-range, right? When he gets into his spot, he could just rise right over the top of people and knock it down. He's a really interesting player. And obviously Trey's skill level is elite, and you got Tatum and Brown on the other side. You're right. It was high level skill for sure. Just, the way NBA players are weaponized these days is just incredible. Like, I feel like this whole series, we've seen a lot of tough shot making from almost every team.
We have, yeah. I mean, and that again, that's what we're going towards. So we've been, we're now knee deep into this new modern era where the definition of an open shot has been completely redefined, right? And if you're close but your hand is down, that's enough now. Whereas back in the day, if you were within 5 feet or 4 feet of me, it's not open. I can't take it. And now it's like, are you kidding me? That is wide open. If you can get it off quick. So, and then that also goes for the floater game that we see everybody now have. And it's really difficult to play defense in today's game, which is why it's going to be harder and harder. The only way you can justify being a terrible defender is by scoring 30 and getting 8 assists. You know what I mean? You need to really overcompensate on the other end.
I don't think there's Trey is not a good defender, but you don't see a lot of. It's hard to even get on the court if you're a terrible defender. Very hard these days.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. By the way, the terrible defender thing is because everybody gets embarrassed now. Everyone gets crossed. Everyone gets everyone gets shots made in their face.
Right.
Like,
man, Drew Holiday he really got cooked, Coach Nick. Bad.
Yeah, he was struggling. Although he had his hands full. So, but they never gave him a break. They never gave him any kind of support, really.
Would you? Oh, it's a good coach. This is a good coaching question. Would you have put Giannis on Jimmy?
Absolutely. And then they did a little bit, and Jimmy took him and scored. But you know what? Let Giannis be on him and then bring another player. There were enough holes in the Miami Heat offense that you could afford to zone up the weak side and bring an extra defender and shadow him. And they wouldn't do it. They had nothing. They wouldn't even switch pick and rolls on him. It was insane. They didn't box and one. They played zone. They could have been box and one. They could have done a lot of different things. In fact, now I'm remembering I got to put that in the damn video. The list of things they needed to do. It was like they were just. It was the strangest thing to see Budenholzer just kind of like be confused, and that shot is over and shot of him on the bench, not knowing how to support Drew and give him some more help, and then expect him to do wondrous things on the offensive end too. That it was just too much.
Yeah, I mean, he plays the point guard role for them, so he has to set everything up on one side, and then you're dealing with a guy who's playing like the best player in the league on the other side, who's on a total burner, on a total heater.
I think that they were exposed. I really got to tell you. I mean, listen, they did win a title. Well, let me walk through that again, because remember, Budenholzer was on the verge of being fired just they're down 2-0 to the Nets, right? And that was the game 7 where KD had his foot in the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they really they were an inch away from losing that series, and Budenholzer was going to be fired, and it wasn't working, and they can't get to the promised land. And then out of that, remind me though, because I feel like after that they beat the Suns, but this right in the finals.
The Suns?
Yeah, it was Bucks Suns in the finals, right? Let me see. Yeah, so
the Suns, yeah.
After the Nets, and so he has a resurrection, and then they get to that's the Atlanta.
No. Didn't Luka and them beat the Suns?
Not when the Milwaukee won it in 21. It was Milwaukee versus Phoenix.
Okay.
I'm looking at it right here.
Okay.
But I'm wondering. I'm trying to remember what was the deal with that. It wasn't the bubble, but it was right. The arenas weren't full, right? Remember that? I think they had sort of full arenas.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see here who they ended up playing, because Booker played. Chris Paul played, DeAndre Ayton played, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder. So they had everybody. Was there anybody that they were missing? I guess not. So you know what? That team was able to do it, but I think that that window is closed. I think it's done. It's time to figure out ways to retool the whole roster.
Yeah, I would agree. But I don't think they have much wiggle room, right? Do they?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, unless they want to trade Giannis.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
I mean, I guess you don't, only because you never get, enough value back for a player like that. But I guess then you hope that he can train a little bit better and figure out how to, fix he's got weird movement patterns. I mean, part of the problem is, and I show us in the video, and I guess I'll keep it in, it's getting long, but he shoots with 10 toes to the rim, and he's got both feet up at the line. So it's very difficult for most people to get their elbow under the ball that way. And all you have to do is put the right foot forward a little bit and turn. It's so bizarre how that happened. And that's what's causing all this horrible, it's a 4-segmented shot now. It's not even 2, it's 4. And it's ugly. So, the acting could very well have something to do with that. But I mean, they threw him alley-oops. He was blocking shots. He was doing putback dunks. I didn't see a lot of evidence that his back was causing a lot of problems for him. And he's a superhuman person. So I just feel like there's a way to limit his effectiveness when you get to the playoffs. And I don't see how that's going to change unless he does something radical with his training.
Yeah, I mean, he has to do things with his jump shot, and I would play a lot of one-on-one in the summer if I was him.
Yeah. And Andrew's reminding me that CP3 wore down because he's at the end of his run. So he wasn't the normal CP3, and that helped them. And then they were using the hack of Giannis, I believe, and I think he finally just started making him. That was when they were letting him even take 15 seconds on a free throw. Remember that?
Yeah, right. And people remember when the crowd was counting.
Yeah. So that I'm glad he stopped doing that. I don't think that was helpful at all to take every fraction of a second of the 10 seconds you're allotted. I don't think it helped him with his rhythm. So yeah, so that's the thing. I'm really down on the Bucks. I've never really liked the way the Bucks play. That's just weird. What's interesting is that the defensive stuff they do with the severe drops led to a lot of open threes throughout this entire Budenholzer tenure. However, the first 2 years they were number 1 in defensive rating, but then it went to 7th or something. Then it went to 10th or maybe 10th and 14th. It was really not good. This year, all of a sudden, though, inexplicably, they went back up to 4th, I think. I'm not even sure how that happened.
I have to ask you, Coach Nick, because you don't really like how the Heat play. You don't like how the Bucks play, and I'm not mad at you at the Bucks, but so who in the NBA do you like systematically? Obviously,
I do like the way the Heat play. I do like their offense. I think I do like the offense. What is it that I don't like about
Oh
it?
no, that's what you said last time. I remember what you said last time.
I don't
You
like
said,
their offense? I don't
no,
like,
you said you don't really. You said I have to look closer, but I don't really like the way they play. I think that's what you said.
I mean, I like when they get going with the handoffs. I really like that.
So you like the Kings and the Warriors. You like that style of play,
Yeah, I
right?
like that. I like the Kings and Warriors the way they play, which are somewhat similar. Yeah, they're pretty similar. Yeah, I like
I would assume you do not like the Sixers, right?
no, not
Yeah.
really. It's like it's just they could do so much more. It's so monotonous and predictable
You like
and effective because they got fucking excuse my language, Joel Embiid. But you know they could do more and it would benefit the role players a lot better. And that's what I think is a problem
you
there.
like free flowing, like pass it, shoot it, drive it, read and react. Read and
Getting
react.
racked is good. Yeah. I like middle penetration, like kickouts for threes. Those are the kind of threes we should be getting. You know, I like creative ways to get into pick and roll that has movement beforehand, not just like hold your fist up and let the guy come up. That seems to be the easiest way to guard if you can guard it at all.
So did you like watching? And I don't want to go on a tangent of '80s basketball, but you must have not like that era too much, right? That was a lot of like
80s,
yeah,
right? Because it was before the triangle.
yeah,
Um, I mean, 80s though, it did have a lot of fast break. It did have that.
yeah. It
But
did
you're
have that,
right.
yeah,
There's a lot of pin downs, a lot of floppy. You
yeah.
know, it wasn't that creative. You didn't see a lot of handoffs back then either, which is weird because you would have seen them in the 50s and 60s. You see a lot of handoffs and a lot of high post action, but you didn't see it as much in the 80s. You're right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I probably maybe wouldn't like it. I remember going back and watching some of the Lakers Celtics stuff in since I started B-ball breakdown and like kind of just being like, huh, like that's all that was, like a 2-man game on one side, and then they would swing it and maybe do like a little 3-man on the other, and that was that was about it. They were that good though that they didn't need to do much more. But you did have some teams, you did have some variation a little bit, but you're right. I probably much prefer what they're doing now because most of the league does some version of what I like, right?
Yeah, they do. I think, and you mentioned Denver earlier. I love their offense, and I would have to say that I'd probably give them the best chance to win it all as of now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I tweeted this out. Having a guy like Michael Porter Jr. as your third option is kind of unfair. I know there's other third options that are really, really good and probably just like that to some degree, but you're talking about like KD, right? He's basically a KD scorer. I guess we can't call him a KD clone, but he's very similar. And
He's more of a movement shooter and less of an ISO guy.
Yeah, but I've seen him ISO and I've seen him be unstoppable in the mid range of the brim and then from three. So
And you know what's crazy? Like if a team would give him major minutes, like he played under 30 minutes a game this year. Like if a team gave him major minutes, he could average 25, 26, 27 in this league.
Yeah, I'm kind of calling. I want to see what he averaged. Yeah, I agree. And by the way, either way, yeah, he played 29 in the regular season. I'm sure.
But Coach Nick, we got to get it clear. He's not KD.
He's not KD, but he scores like KD. He's got all that package. And so now there's 12 seconds in the shot clock, and Embiid and Murray couldn't get something going, and then it swings to him. So instead of like some catch and shoot guy who's not open, now you're screwed and the shot clock's winding down. You're throwing it to him, and he can create something, and that's really, really a very valuable asset for them to have. And he's not been as bad on defense either. So that's why I feel pretty good about how all those pieces fit together. Michael Malone's a very good coach too. So yeah, I feel the best about Denver. I feel like they're the most difficult to stop.
Yeah, I mean, look, and they got guys that work really well with Jokic, like the way Aaron Gordon moves without the basketball. Bruce Brown is a player that fits really well with Jokic. And then, you mentioned Michael Malone. They're great offensively, but Michael Malone's really a defensive coach. So they're just good from every angle.
That is true. What are they? Let's see. Their defensive rating, according to B-Ball Ref, was 15th, which is not good enough. But I mean,
if you're number one, if you're number one in offense and you get to top 10 in defense, you could win a championship.
Right, but they're only 15th.
I know, but things could change in the playoffs.
That's 5 spots. That's big. That would be unprecedented, I think. Although I bet you somebody's done it. Maybe the Lakers, when they won, may not have been top 10. But in the playoffs, I'm looking where Denver is. Denver's 6th in the defensive rating, and it went down from the regular season from, let's see, according to this, they were at 114.2, and then they're now giving up. In the first round, they gave up 109.6. So they were doing a much better job in that first round. So we'll see though, because and I think I talked about this in the last show. Other than Sacramento, they're not going against any other elite offenses, unless you want to say Phoenix, but we don't really know what's happening with Phoenix right now, and if they're going to achieve that without enough, seasoning.
I love the way D Book is playing, and obviously KD's an all-time great, but I just think it's going to be tough with the chemistry side of things to win that many series, and then the lack of depth as well. I just think it's going to be a really tough ask.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's going to be that's why I feel good about Denver, and they have a really good path all the way to the finals then, because I don't think Sacramento's going to make it. I think the Warriors are going to end it tomorrow, and then and by the way, the Warriors, who didn't have an elite offense in some weird way, but we know that they can really score. So that's going to be the one good thing, or one thing that's going to they can offer Denver that Denver might not see. But and then Phoenix, again, I guess for the same reason, we know they can score, so that should be tough as well. But anybody else that's left, I got to look at the bracket. It's going to be, let's see, that's anyone else's Memphis. I don't think Memphis is going to make it. And the Lakers, they can handle the Lakers. So actually, the Denver matches up okay with the Lakers, because I guess. Well, you're gonna have to have
AD's
Jokic on the Lakers.
AD's gonna be an issue maybe with them. I mean,
yeah, Aaron Gordon. I would like. I got to go look in the regular season how that's worked in the past, but I don't mind that.
Yeah,
Denver
also has the home court advantage throughout the playoffs. That's pretty big, especially with the altitude.
Oh yeah, altitude's a huge deal. So anyhow. Well, listen, I know it's getting late there for you, so I don't want to keep you up any too much longer. But I think this is a great first post-game live show. I think this is a great way to get more people into the show and listening to us.
Yeah, man. Coach Nick, it's always fun talking basketball. It's playoff time. A lot of stuff going on, as you know, and I'm sure it's tough with the videos these days when everything's changing and moving around. But this was fun, man. It's crazy. It's kind of like a crazy time to podcast. It's a crazy time to make videos. Not only because it's playoffs, but it's like a crazy playoffs. Like all these unexpected things are happening.
Absolutely. And then we got a question. Is that Stanley from The Office? It is Stanley from The Office. And then who the one who is diagonal opposite that is? You know who that is, right? Who's below next to Steph?
That's somebody doing a sham god, right?
It is someone doing the sham god. Maybe it's too far away. You can't see it.
It's the God sham god, New York.
It's a little sacrilegious, but it's Martin Luther King.
Oh, okay.
In a suit doing a sham god. And then I had to take down Ja, and I replaced him with who was it? Damian? Is it Lillard? Yeah, with Lillard. I have a few more. I might have to make some because they don't have them anymore. That was a sponsor display, and they're metal magnets. They stick to the wall. I can take them off, put them back on. It's really cool. But they don't. They had a whole bunch of NBA players in their thing. You can just order. They don't do them anymore. I wonder if I have to actually make them and then say that I don't have the rights. I don't know. Anyway. Or maybe I'll do some b-ball breakdown. Like this is also magnetic, sticks to the wall. It's pretty cool, and 4 pieces. All right. Well, listen, Combo, thanks for coming out and joining me. Let's do this again. You know what? Yeah. We're going to have some games that are probably early that will finish a little earlier. Like maybe they'll finish around 7 your time or 8 maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do
it. Try and find that, and I guess I can always go by myself too. I'll if I have to, but
I think the people would miss Combo, but
they would miss Combo. They would, but sometimes you got to give the people what they want. So anyway, stay tuned for, I suppose tomorrow. I got to now decide. Do I do the Trey Young video? I guess that series is over too. So I think I'm going to stick with what I've almost done. Stay tuned tomorrow. I'm going to light the. I'm going to.
You gotta put this on the audio feed.
Oh, I'll put I did the last one. I finally did it.
And send Combo the audio.
Yeah, I'll get Combo the audio, but it might. We'll see if it's tonight or not, depending on if I have to get the heck out of my office. I've been in my office since for about 13 straight hours. I got to get out.
Wow, you're like that JJ. You're like that JJ Redick video with all like the algorithms and arithmetic on the chalkboard with the coffee.
I need to go faster. I can't go fast enough. So, but stay tuned. I am going to pour kerosene all over the Milwaukee Bucks and light the thing on fire, and it'll be great. So stay tuned for that one. Then the Trey Young video will come up, which will be discussing a little bit about the Celtics and their lack of adjustments too. And then we'll see if I can sneak a Knicks one in there, whatever. We'll get them all done, and then the second round will be even better. So stay tuned for all that. Combo, make sure everyone finds Combo on Combo's court. I was wearing your T-shirt the other day, by the way. Very cool.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I got to send you another one, man.
All right. I got to get some more of my merch, so maybe we'll get that going too.
Yeah, we got to do a switcheroo.
Yeah. Oh, right. We'll do that in person. All right. You got it. I'm going to start working out for that.
We could do a virtual like this, right? Like,
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. And don't forget, sports fans, at B-Ball Breakdown, we're not a channel, we're a conversation. You in? Are you in, Combo?
yes, sir.